The wind howled across the barren surface of Gliese 5/6 moon, dragging sheets of silver dust across the ice-cracked terrain. No sun ever touched this hemisphere, just pale reflections of the gas giant looming eternally overhead. In a solitary outpost buried in the moon's crust, ex-miner and ex-soldier Rhett Cade sat nursing a cheap ration of synth whiskey. His beard was overgrown, his hair matted, and his world reduced to 3 rooms and an old fusion heater. He hadn't seen another soul in 3 years. His last transmission to the Terran assembly had gone unanswered. He was supposed to be decommissioning the old mining rig, but when the contract dissolved and the world forgot him, Rhett stayed. Out of bitterness or guilt, or maybe because solitude was the only thing that didn't require explaining. He didn't expect a knock, let alone a knock followed by a scream. The outer airlock buzzed. The proximity alert screamed red across his HUD. Outside, a figure, female, collapsing, Rhett dashed to the airlock, overriding the atmospheric protocols. The outer doors parted with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a creature like nothing he'd seen before. She was humanoid, yes, but her skin shimmered like frost, pale lavender, veined with bioluminescent strands. Her eyes were large, silver, and laced with fear. She wore tatters of what must have once been armor, though the cold had clearly ravaged it. She collapsed into his arms. "Help," she rasped, her voice fractured but melodic. He pulled her in. By the time he stabilized her vitals, removed the frostbite from her extremities with medgel, and draped her in thermal blankets, Rhett realized something impossible. She wasn't just an alien. She was the first intelligent contact from outside Terran space in over a century. When she woke, she introduced herself, Varen of the Nellari, a diplomatic guardship officer who had crash-landed 2 days ago after pirates attacked her vessel. She'd escaped in a pod. Her crew hadn't made it. She should have died out there. "I saw the lights from your outpost," she said, shivering still, her voice more stable. "Didn't think anyone lived here." "I barely do," Rhett muttered, pouring her hot broth. Despite the awkward start, they talked. A lot. Varen had been born in a spiral city orbiting a distant white star. She'd trained to protect ambassadors, never meant for war. She hated the cold. She sang Nellari lullabies in her sleep. Rhett, in turn, confessed more than he meant to, about the war. About why he stayed here, buried under silence and dust. About the little girl he once had, lost in a mining dome collapse he couldn't prevent. Varen listened, not with pity but with a quiet gravity. Over weeks, they built a rhythm. She fixed the damaged communication array. He patched the water filters. They shared stories, meals, silence. It was the kind of fragile comfort only 2 lost people could share. Then came the signal. A Nellari rescue beacon pulsed across the moon's horizon. They had found her. Varen turned to Rhett that night. Under the false moonlight of the old mining shaft they'd converted into a garden. "I'll have to go." "I figured," he said. "But I don't want to." He didn't answer. "I owe you more than just my life," she whispered. "What you gave me, shelter, warmth, patience, you gave that to someone the galaxy discarded." "You're not the only one who was discarded," Rhett said. Their first kiss was uncertain. Cold lips, warm breath, her bioluminescent skin glowing soft pink in the dim light. It wasn't perfect. It was real. The next day her people landed. 2 elegant ships descended with humming anti-grav engines. Varen's commanding officer was tall, stern, and brimming with suspicion. Rhett didn't flinch. Varen held his hand as she explained everything. "This human saved my life," she told them. "And more. He reminded me why we reach across stars in the first place." But the Nellari were cautious. Humans were still fringe members of the galactic community. Their record, wars, pollution, greed, made most species hesitant to engage. Then the commander asked Rhett a simple question. "Why should we trust you?" Rhett looked around, at the broken outpost, at the mines that killed his crew, at the ghost of his daughter in every room, and he said, "You shouldn't. Not easily. But I trusted her, and I had every reason not to. That counts for something." A week later, a shuttle arrived for Rhett. Not to arrest him, to invite him. The Nellari didn't forget his kindness. Nor did Varen. In fact, she insisted on it. She had sway, and she used it. Rhett boarded their ship not as a prisoner, but as a diplomatic guest. A human ambassador in the making. His grizzled, no-nonsense manner appealed to many Nellari leaders, who found humans' unpredictable instincts intriguing. Rhett found himself on Nellari Prime a month later. A world of water temples and floating citadels. He wore proper robes, learned their customs. He even stopped shaving. But he never forgot the cold outpost or the warmth that had walked into it. Veyron remained close, not just as a political ally but as a partner. They weren't perfect. She was diplomatic, deliberate, refined. He was sarcastic, blunt, stubborn. But in every meeting, in every challenge, when a human delegation arrived or a crisis emerged, they met it together. Years later, the Terran Assembly appointed Rhett Cade the first human Nellari liaison. And on the 10th anniversary of their first meeting, under a glowing Nellari moon, Veyron handed him a tiny vial of crystal gold stardust, the most precious material in their culture. "For the man who gave me fire," she said, eyes shining. And he, holding her hand, smiled for the first time in a decade. "I thought I gave you shelter. You gave me a home." And that's how the galaxy changed, not through wars or politics, but because a freezing alien woman knocked on the door of a broken man, and he opened it.